Roll call.
Holt.
Here.
Nikki.
Here.
Sarah.
Here.
Phillips.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Bradford.
Here.
Tatum.
Here.
Lemings. Bass.
Here.
Lemings called and he's going to be running just a little bit late. You have a copy of the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So be it.
Second.
Motion by Holt, second by Phillips to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You have a copy of the treasurer's report. Do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
Make a motion to approve the written.
Second.
It's been motioned by Tatum, second by Nikki Brown, to approve the treasurer's report. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You were emailed a copy of the appropriations analysis. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Approved.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Holt, second by Sarah Brown to approve the appropriations analysis. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the appropriations analysis signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Brings us up to the county road and equipment report. We've completed road improvement projects on Nixon Mountain and Gulf Mountain this month. Our graders have been running nonstop and we are taking advantage of this weather to pull the ditches and get those really good. Bridge repair work has been a priority. The state of Arkansas sends in bridge inspectors and gives us a report on bridges. The state has stepped up their inspections as many counties have not been completing work as stated on the reports. It has been discussed that the state funding be suspended to counties which are ignoring their bridge reports. But we're taking care of those. Lots of pothole patching on chip and seal roads is going on. The mowing and brush crew has been working to complete just as many roads as possible. We're really trying to get the roads mowed out. It's a tough chore, but we're working on it. We're gearing up for two huge grant projects on Archie Road and Peyton Mountain Road. Both projects were approved at $75,000 each through mitigation and through Arkansas unpaved roads, respectively. A 20,000-ton blast was completed at the North Quarry. This makes 80,000 tons so far for this year. Van Buren County has produced just under $1 million of retail value rocks so far at the following cost to the county. Between payroll and benefits, blasting, lease price from the Formosa Quarry, maintenance, repairs, fuel, and equipment payments, the total to produce was $299,915.85. So we're getting a really good return on our investment, and I appreciate the Quorum Court for approving the purchase of the equipment that was necessary to conduct our own gravel operation. The county could not afford to do as much gravel as we have hauled and delivered at retail price. The price per ton will decrease even further when that crushing equipment is finally paid off. This next part is kind of a pretty big announcement from me about the county roads. During the gas and oil exploration times, the gas company surfaced several roads in the county and paid to have several chip and sealed. Between the roads that the gas companies funded and what the county funded on its own, we have a good number of surfaced roads. Time has taken a toll on these roads and many are aging very poorly. Therefore, the decision has been made that any further paving and or chip and sealing on county roads will be to overlay and repair existing surfaced roads. Exceptions to this will be made for a grant-funded project. We must spend our tax dollars wisely, and I do not want currently surfaced roads to one day have to revert back to gravel unless absolutely necessary. I don't believe a tax increase is the answer. This plan will maintain what we have and will allow us to make much better gravel roads. Many of our gravel roads are smoother and better suited for Van Buren County's terrain than surfaced roads. Through turnback fund decreases and a loss of severance tax revenue, the road department has seen a decrease this year, so far year to date, of $300,000 in revenue. But by modifying our operation, you can't really even tell that. We kept doing what we're doing. We're just focusing on rocks and gravel and less on the permanent surfaces like chip and seal and pavement. Any questions?
How is the crusher doing?
Doing well. We were down for about a week to do some maintenance and get it all working good again. We replaced some bearings and replaced some belts. Back up to 100%.
And how long is it gonna take to pay this off? Did you ever tell us that?
The crushing equipment,
Yeah.
that was a 60-month allotment.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Okay. Sheriff's report.
Judge, I have just a couple of things to address. I think on Monday, the 24th, we're going to attempt a soft opening to our front office, which is going to include people that need to come in and get incident reports, accident reports. I think with our children going back to school, the parents and some of our constituents who need to come in and take care of fines or their loved ones' fines, or they need to put money on commissary for maybe their loved one that's in jail for right now for a period of time. That's going to be opened up to them to come in and get their screening and be available for services in the front office. It will not change our jail status, which we are still in phase 1, which is no visitation, quarantine anybody that comes in 14 days. And speaking about that, as I spoke to you earlier about a machine that AAC, Arkansas Association of Counties, is in helping us get a machine to be able to get a 15-minute COVID test, flu test, and or strip. We get a 15-minute result on that. We do have to have our medical staff administer that and get the results. So we'll have a shorter quarantine time. If we bring them in, say we bring them in today, they have to quarantine for 5 days to allow that to cook, is what they're telling me. And so then we can perform that test in 15 minutes. We have a result. They can either go into general population and or if they've not bonded, they can move about our facility where we need to place them out of quarantine. So it may possibly be a way for us to be able to shorten our quarantine periods. So we're looking into that. Hopefully we'll make a decision on that tomorrow. It does come with some cost, but it's not near the cost that I thought it was. So I think that's something we'll try to make a move on tomorrow. Fingerprints will still be by appointment only because that's a little bit different. Hands-on, a lot of, takes a little bit more personnel to do that. So we do that by appointment only on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 to 4. So that'll be still available, but you have to call our office and set up an appointment. So that's where we're at. I did hand out our activity sheet, and if anybody's got any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Looks like, Sheriff, our traffic stops in June and July were pretty high.
Well,
That's good.
We did open up a little bit, and I let them get a little bit more active on the road.
Yeah.
And in talking with the prosecutor's office and things, we've been taking care of stuff with citations and affidavits that we can, since the courts are open,
Okay.
we can start doing it that way. We're not able to take a whole lot of visitors in the jail, so
Yeah.
we just have to try to
That's
take
good,
care of
because
it.
I know we got a lot of folks speeding through things.
Right.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Are there any other county boards that would like to address the court? I think I saw the library back there. Are you just here? Would you like to?
We have my name is David Emerling. I'm the new president of the library board. We do have a lady, Vicki Parker, that we would like to bring on our board and are seeking the approval of the Quorum Court for that. Probably there's some people in here that know Vicki better than I do. She's been in the county for years and very active with the school programs and a number of things, and seems like a very qualified individual, and I think she'll make a great addition to the board.
Okay.
Hoping we'll get approval for her.
Just get with Pam. Pam will draw that up as a resolution, and we'll run that next month.
Excellent, thank you.
Justices, do you have any questions for any of the officials or boards that are here? Okay. I don't see either of the two individuals who are on the agenda, so we'll move on to new business. The first is an ordinance sponsored by Justice Lemings.
Be enacted by the Quorum Court of the County of Van Buren, the State of Arkansas, an appropriation orders to be entitled, appropriation orders to amend the original appropriation ordinance 2019-55, the annual operating budget for 2020, to increase the projected revenue and appropriate $24,396.22 into county general. Whereas the Van Buren County has been reimbursed $24,396.22 from the State Board of Elections for the 2020 primary election, and whereas this money is needed to be appropriated into the Election Commission budget 1000-109 and the voter registration budget 1000-121 as follows: $8,000 to 1000-109-1002 salaries and part-time, $134.67 to 1000-109-1006 Social Security match, $13,000 to 1000-109-3009 other professional services, totaling $21,134.67 for the Election Commission budget. $2,500 to 1000-121-1002 salaries and part-time, $191.25 to 1000-121-1006 Social Security match, $570.30 to 1000-121-2001 general supplies, totaling $3,261.55 for the voter registration budget. Now therefore let be ordained by the Quorum Court of Van Buren County that $24,396.22 be appropriated into the general fund as stated above. I move that we approve this as written.
Second.
Motion by Lemings and second by Nikki Brown to adopt this ordinance. Any discussion?
Yes, I have some questions. How much of this is for part-time salaries, the $8,000? And 2,500 part-time salaries? $10,500, is that right? Is this the money that the state paid us to put on the election?
Yeah. Some of it goes in voter registration, it was the part for early voting, and the rest of it goes in election commission
Okay.
that was used from the budget.
Have all of our people been paid?
Yes. No.
No. We passed an ordinance back some time back that when we had this big rigmarole with the election commission, and that upset a lot of people, me included. But the thing of it is, you have the right to pass the ordinance. But if you read in your election book, those ordinances are not in election book, but in our law book. The ordinance that we passed is not going in effect till 30 days after it's been printed. The election commission that we had in office was paid $25, and this was 2 days after, I believe it was 2 days after the meeting, or just a few days after. It wasn't 30 days after the meeting. So those folks need to be paid what they're supposed to be paid.
I'll look at that.
Well, I'm not going to pass any kind of ordinance on this. I'm not going to vote for it because they entitled to their full pay. And I know
Well,
you
that's
say
fine,
you're
but
looking.
this is a refund from the state.
I know
back to the
that.
county.
I know that refund, and part of it a big part of it goes to those people that work.
That is true, but the state only refunds 10 meetings for the election commissioners, and of course, we all know that they had a whole lot more than that. But we only got paid back from the state for 10 meetings.
But they worked that election like anyone else.
No, they had meetings, that didn't work. When you have 26 meetings.
No.
200 meetings.
They worked the election. When the election was done, they had worked a total of so many hours.
Did they show up on election day?
Yes.
I was here 13 and a half hours.
No,
Actually 14.
Well, they did.
And I worked on Monday. And I came in to certify also. And we are not just election commissioners, we are county officials. So you cannot reduce our salary during the year. Check it out.
I think Quorum Court can pass whoever.
No, they cannot.
I believe they can.
Check.
Quorum Court has a lot of power, my dear.
They can appropriate the money, but they cannot spend the money.
We cannot appropriate money.
You can pass any ordinance you want to, but that ordinance does not go in effect until 30 days after it's published.
Do you remember if there was an emergency clause on that order?
There was not.
I thought that ordinance was just to cover the future, so that would not happen again. Was that not my understanding? So there would only be 10 meetings
10
reversed,
meetings.
rather than the 25, 26 that we had before?
Because the election day and the day before and the certification are not considered meetings. We get paid just like the poll workers get paid, the minimum wage per hour. And I've got about 20 hours that I have not been paid for.
And I'll look at that
I've
tomorrow.
got it right here if you want to
But
see it.
you sent us a check. You wrote out a check and paid the county back for part of your salary.
That
And
was-
then the last check that we sent you, you sent back. So I don't understand why you're worried about this now.
Because it wasn't correct is the reason.
Okay.
I've got at least 20 hours that I'm due.
Then why did you send us a check? Paying back
The
hours?
check I sent you was for my insurance. That wasn't for,
No,
yes, it was.
this one wasn't for your insurance.
Yes, it was.
I have a question. Since this is a refund from the state, if we pass this and it's uncovered that it didn't have an emergency clause and it didn't go into effect, can it still be moved around? I mean, like.
Oh, yeah, we'll
So
correct
this
it.
wouldn't, this is kind of dumping that money in there, and if we
Yeah.
need to add to part-time salaries and pull from, let's just say, other professional services, that could be moved around at that time. Okay. I just wanted to-
Yeah, if anything was done that wasn't correct, we'll correct it.
So essentially, this is just a check that's just floating and it needs to be put in an account, correct?
Yes, we're being paid back for the primary election.
They pay you, the state pays so much on the primary election.
Right.
And that's to cover the monies that were paid out to the laborers. And everybody else got what they're supposed to, but the election commission didn't.
Okay. I understand what you're saying,
And I-
but what this, I'm understanding this ordinance correctly. It's just like we've been written a check and it needs to be put in the correct accounts. It doesn't have anything to do with.
Exactly. But the thing of it is, they did not get paid.
Right, I understand that, but wouldn't that be a separate issue?
That's a separate issue.
Yes.
And I know there were 2 letters sent to the county judge, and I don't know, they were never acted upon.
Well, I don't know anything about that. And I'm not saying that they don't need to be paid. I'm just trying to understand that from what I see, this is just something that needs to be like a check put in the bank.
Well, it could end up in a lawsuit if they decide to push it, because they should have been paid their normal rate like anyone else.
Who
And they
are
won't.
they, Lester?
Did what?
Who are they?
The election commission.
The 3 that we got rid of?
If they worked the election, they need to be paid for it. And they did work the election.
Okay.
and they were paid $25.
Although they misutilized county money.
I
They
don't
what?
think we
Yeah.
misutilized it.
Yeah, they had a lot of extra meetings, so to me, that's misusing county money.
But they work, and they should be paid like any other any other
And
person.
they know darn good and well that they shouldn't have had 20-something meetings. They were only authorized 10 meetings by law.
Did you look at the minutes?
Yes,
Yeah.
10 meetings.
But after the fact, it was 10 meetings.
No, it's 10 meetings. That's what the state told us.
It's always been two.
That's
It's
what-
always been 10
That's
meetings.
what the state will pay you is for 10 meetings.
That's right.
But if we have to have more than the 10, then
Where are we gonna
should
get
be
the
paid.
money? We're gonna pull it out of a hat?
That's your,
Right here's the money, right here.
Yeah.
We're talking about what they need to be paid.
I didn't come.
I understand you,
I
Esther,
work
but
every
I am
time
very
I can.
still upset about that whole mess because
I
they
am
cheated
too.
the county.
I am too.
They
We
cheated
did
the
not
county.
cheat the county.
You cheated the county.
I work
I don't wanna
every
hear
time
anymore.
I've
Hey,
been
let's-
here. I've
the
been
county.
here 8
Order.
hours, I've
Let's-
been here.
Let's maintain
Now,
order.
I'm not listening.
Let's maintain order.
Regardless, this is a separate issue than
It's a
that,
separate issue.
correct?
Right.
I mean, so if there was something
Not
to.
really. I mean, this money is sent, they should be paid out of this money because the state, that's what the state pays them.
Well, I'm not saying that's not true. What I'm saying is that this ordinance doesn't say anything about payroll, like, oh,
No.
8,000 for part-time salaries, 25,000 for part-time salaries.
that's just.
Actually, if you want to connect the two, then the state is paying us for 10 of their meetings. We pay them for 20-something meetings. So
That's what I
they've
get out
been
of it. It's
paid.
reimbursement for up to 10 meetings.
Yes.
But they still work
That's
on election,
at least
work the
that much
election.
money being paid out or more.
Well, I turned in to be reimbursed 35,640.47. That was all of their meetings, 20-something meetings. That was all of the extra stuff that they bought. And the state only approved 24,396.22. So there's $10,000 that we didn't get back.
It sounds like it needs to be put into the accounts.
It can't be, it has to be put back into the election commission. That's a requirement.
It goes in the election commission and voter registration where it came out of.
Yes, the election commission budget, that's what it's going back into. It's going back into the election commission budget and voter registration budget.
Any further discussion?
I mean, if something needs to be worked out as far as payroll and all that goes, that's fine. I'm just saying, I mean, it's not fine. We don't have to go there again. This has nothing to do with that.
But you also have $15,000 budgeted for an election coordinator, which you didn't have, which we did the work for.
I think we're kicking a dead horse here.
I know you are, but I'm telling you, you've got $15,000 there budgeted.
In full disclosure, I did receive a couple of letters, but my office does not pay the bills. And it has been made very clear by all parties that the election commission does not work for the county judge. So those letters are still in my office. Any
We're
other
also-
discussion?
We're also considered county officials, which is equal to you.
Officers.
Officials. I have it right here.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I don't know, what are we voting on?
You're voting on adopting this ordinance.
Just putting the money back into the correct account, correct?
It's this money into these line items.
Okay, will these election officials, will the election commissioners be paid? And you tell me they'll be paid what they're due?
If the payroll was done incorrect, yes, it'll be corrected. I will look at that first thing in the morning.
question. How much money is left in that pocket, in the election pocket? Anything left for the rest of the year? For any other elections?
Right now, there's about $3,000 in part-time.
And what does it usually take to run another election?
Well, at the beginning of the year, there was 18,000.
What will the November election cost? Roughly.
I would say probably 30,000, between 30, 35,000.
And how much did you say was in there right now?
Three.
And then this will be, is this already been, has this money already been spent?
Yes,
So all we have, period, is $3,000.
right now.
So what's that gonna come out of? How are we gonna pay for the election?
Well, in all the line items within the election budget, there was what, 9,000, I believe?
There, in the whole budget, there's 9,643.
Based on that 100, for 10 meetings, wasn't that like $100 that the state reimburses? Was that? Because that sounds about like $3,000, 10 meetings at $100 a meeting, 3 people. That sounds about what it should be for that segment, right? It kind of sounds like we're on track to me for the committee.
But you have your poll workers also.
Well, I thought that was just, I was under the understanding that that was just the election commission, that $3,000 was just for them, and not the poll workers were in the separate.
No, the
No.
poll workers are also part-time.
And I think before we established that maybe that was like 8,000 usually or something.
And we're putting 8,000 in.
Discussion? Any further? Roll call vote.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips.
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Bradford,
Yes.
Tatum,
Yes.
Lemings,
Yes.
Bass,
Yes.
2020-21.
We have a resolution that was drawn up at the last moment. Went ahead and, since we didn't have much on the agenda, this could have gone until next month. We went ahead and tried to run it tonight. So if y'all wouldn't mind, I would entertain a motion to suspend the rules to entertain this one resolution.
Second.
Which one are you talking? Are we
Yeah.
doing the other one?
It was
So that's we should.
Yeah.
motion by Phillips and second by Holt to suspend the rules. Suspend the rules to run the resolution. Any discussion? Roll call vote for suspension.
Holt,
Yes.
Nikki,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Phillips,
Yes.
Hensley,
Yes.
Bradford,
Yes.
Tatum,
Yes.
Lemings,
Yes.
Bass.
Yes.
Thank you. Dale Holt, would you care to read this resolution? This one was drafted for us, so it's a bit wordy.
And legal mumbo jumbo.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing and approving the execution of equipment lease purchase agreement with Bancorp South Equipment Finance, a division of Bancorp South Bank, for the purpose or lease of purchasing certain equipment. Whereas the Quorum Court, the governing body of Van Buren County, Arkansas, the leasee, acting for and on behalf of the leasee, hereby finds, determines, and adjudicates as follows. Number 1, the leasee desires to enter into an equipment lease purchase agreement with the exhibits attached thereto in substantially the same form as attached thereto in Exhibit A, the agreement, with Bancorp South Equipment Finance, a division of Bancorp South Bank, the lessor, for the purpose of presently purchasing the equipment as described therein for the total cost specified therein, collectively the equipment, and to purchase such other equipment from time to time to future upon appropriate approval. Number 2, the lessee is authorized pursuant to the city and county government development bond and short-term financing agreement to the Constitution of the State of Arkansas to acquire tangible personal property with an expected useful life of more than 1 year by a lease purchase agreement and pay interest thereon by contract for a term of not to exceed 5 years. Number 3, it is in the best interest of the residents served by the lessee that the lessee acquire the equipment pursuant to and in accordance with the terms of the agreement. And number 4, it is necessary for the lessee to approve and authorize the equipment. Number 5, the lessee desires to designate the agreement as a qualified tax exempt obligation of the lessee for purposes of Section 265B3 of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986, the Code. Now therefore be it resolved by this governing body for and on behalf of the lessee as follows. Section 1. The agreement and exhibits attached thereto in substantially the same form as attached thereto in Exhibit A by and between the lessor and the lessee is hereby approved, and Dale James, the authorized officer, is hereby authorized and directed to execute said agreement on behalf of the lessee. Section 2. The agreement is being issued in the calendar year 2020. Section 3. Neither any portion of the gross proceeds of the agreement nor the equipment identified to the agreement shall be used directly or indirectly in a trade or business carried on by any person other than a governmental unit, except for such use as a member of the general public. Section 4. No portion of the rental payments identified in the agreement, small a, is secured directly or indirectly by property used or to be used in a trade or business carried on by a person other than a governmental unit, except for such as use as a member of the general public, or by payments in respect of such property, or small b, is to be derived from payments, whether or not to the lessee in respect of property or borrowed money used or to be used for a trade or business carried on by any person other than governmental unit. Section 5. No portion of the gross proceeds of the agreement are used directly or indirectly to make or finance loans to persons other than governmental units. Lesson 6. Lessee hereby designates the agreement as a qualified tax exempt obligation for purposes of Section 265 small b of the Code. Section 7. In calendar year 2020, lessee has designated $165,000 of the tax exempt obligations, including the agreement, as qualified tax exempt obligations. Including the agreement thereon so designated, lessee will not designate more than $10 million of obligations issued during calendar year 2020 as qualified tax exempt obligations. Section 8. Lessee reasonably anticipates that the total amount of tax exempt obligations other than private activity bonds to be issued by the lessee during calendar year 2020 will not exceed $10 million. Section 9. For purposes of this resolution, the amount of the tax exempt obligations stated as either issued or designated as qualified tax exempt obligations includes tax exempt obligations issued by all entities deriving this issue authority from the lessee or by an entity subject to substantial control by lessee as provided in Section 265B 3E of the Code. Section 10. The assessed value of taxable property located within the municipality or county is $233,250 as determined by the last completed tax assessment. Section 11. The aggregate principal amount of short-term financing obligations incurred by the lessee, including the obligations on the agreement, does not exceed 5% if lessee is a municipality, or 2.5% if lessee is a county, of the assessed value of taxable property located within the municipality or county as determined by the last completed tax assessment. Section 12. The authorized officer is further authorized for and on behalf of the governing body and the lessee to do all things necessary in furtherance of the obligations of the lessee pursuant to the agreement, including execution and delivery of all documents necessary and appropriate to carry out the transactions contemplated therefore in accordance with the terms and provisions thereof.
Do I hear a motion to adopt?
Let's make a motion to adopt. Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
It's been motioned by Holt, seconded by Phillips to adopt this resolution. Discussion, I'll start it off. This is 3 Mack trucks that Judge Hooper purchased. They were on a 5-year balloon. We're at that 5-year they're ballooning. There's $55,000 left on each of the three. So, at the end of that balloon, you can either choose to trade them back in and get some newer vehicles or do whatever we need to do. Judge Hooper made some very good buys on these dump trucks, and I would like to just keep them, pay them off. This would be a 4-year note to go ahead and get those things paid off and get out of debt and own our equipment.
How many miles roughly are on?
I don't, you would ask that and I should know, but I don't know specifically. They're around 100,000. But for a truck, we can get 500, 600,000 easy out of it.
Were these purchased new?
They were.
What year model?
We are at 2020. These would be 14s. 14 or 15.
They were purchased new.
They were. Yeah, very good shape. Very good shape. And there'll be 2 more coming due next year. And I'll want to do the same thing. Just go ahead and keep those and pay those on.
Where we own a lot of our own equipment right now, correct?
We have 2 graders that are terming out on their lease next month. And then we're completely done with leases. We'll own everything. But we'll be in the process of owning. We'll be paying off our debt.
Roughly how much more time are those graders?
Those should be paid off. Most of those were they required last year and this year, and they were on 60 months. So 5 years.
I mean, are they still in good shape?
Oh yeah. We got a lot of good use on those. Any other discussion?
And this all comes out of the county budget, the county road budget.
Yes, it's already in the budget. Already there. Good questions, good comments. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Holt?
Yes.
Nikki?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Phillips?
Yes.
Hensley?
Yes.
Bradford?
Yes.
Tatum?
Yes.
Lemings?
Yes.
Bass?
Yes.
2020.
Thank you. Any other business before we adjourn? Any other comments? Hear a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any opposed?